first graders. I was going to read some more about Tornado. I think we're going to finish the book today. This chapter is called Carrie's Turtle. Telling that story about the Three of Hearts always puts me in mind of the turtle. Turtle? You never told us about a turtle. Didn't I? Surely I told you about the turtle. No, you didn't, did he? No, said my brother. I said, was it your turtle? To get him started. It worked. Pete smiled. As I recall it, the turtle belonged to a girl named Carrie, and it was about the size of a silver dollar. My sister Aloud was looking after the turtle, and I mean she was particular about it. Gave it fresh water every day, whether the turtle wanted it or not, and wouldn't let any of us so much as near it. One nice sunny day, Aloud changed the water as usual and put the bowl out on the porch so the turtle could get some sun. An hour went by. When Aloud went out again, the turtle was gone. You never heard such a carrying on. Who took Carrie's turtle? Mama, somebody stole Carrie's turtle. I expect you could have heard her all over the county. My brother and I swore up and down we hadn't done it, but Aloud didn't believe us. Mama, make them tell me what they did with Carrie's turtle. I know they stole Carrie's turtle. My mother had come out to referee and was giving my brother and me a little talking to about playing jokes on people when I looked over and saw Tornado. Tornado was sitting by the steps, and he had a look on his face like something was wrong. I went over to him, and I noticed that his mouth wasn't closed all the way. I pulled up his lip and saw a turtle foot. I closed the lip up quick as I could because I didn't know whether the turtle was alive or dead, but my brother had seen it too and said, "The turtle's in Tornado's mouth. I saw its foot." He was glad to be innocent for once. I knew right away what had happened. Tornado had come around the house, seen the nice bowl of water, leaned down for a drink, and ended up with a mouthful of turtle. Aloud came over and held out her hand. Tornado, give me Carrie's turtle, and that turtle better be all right, or you'll be sorry. Tornado just sat there, looking more troubled than ever. Tornado, I mean it. Give me that turtle. Tornado didn't move. Tornado, if you don't give me that turtle right this minute. I didn't let her finish. I said in my father's voice, drop it. Tornado opened his mouth, and the turtle dropped into Aloud's hand. That turtle was as good as new. As soon as he dropped the turtle, Tornado went wild. He started running around the yard and around the barn and around the house. Sitting there for an hour with a turtle in his mouth and not knowing what to do with it must have been the worst thing that could happen to a dog. The only thing to do was to run it off. Well, it was catching. I started running along with him. Tornado would run around the tree one way and I'd run the other, and when we would almost bump into each other, it would make us run around some more. I don't know how long we kept it up, but finally we did bump into each other and just fell down on the ground. Good dog, I said, when I got my breath back. Good dog, Aloud said from the porch, for laughing up Carrie's turtle? For keeping it safe, I reminded her. Oh, all right, she admitted. Good dog. Chapter 5, 5:30. The wind was still howling and we could hear the porch swing pounding on the side of the house. Something like a tree branch hit the cellar doors. Pete said, one more quick story about Tornado. Not too quick, I said. I like all the details. I think you winked at me. My sister Aloud had a cat. Its name was 5:30. It got that name because the cat used to come to our house every day at 5:30 to get something to eat. We didn't know where the cat came from, but it would jump up on the windowsill, and my mother would say, well, it must be 5:30. Here's that cat. Pretty soon, my sister claimed the cat was hers. She tried to change the name to Silver Queen for the kind of corn my daddy grew. She called the cat Queenie, but the cat was 5:30 to the rest of us. Before 5:30 came along, we had a part collie named Babe who liked to dig holes anywhere and any time he felt like it. If she was in the house when the mood hit her, she'd try to dig a hole in the carpet. Now, Tornado was not a dog to go around digging for the pure pleasure of digging. If he dug a hole, it was because he needed it. He took a lot of pride in the holes he dug. One hot day, Tornado felt the need, and he went out to the shade of those cut-off pine trees and dug a hole, just the right size to lie in. And that's what he did. After that, in the heat of the day, he would go lie down in the hole and relax. He got it right the first time, like he did most things, and never had to dig again. Well, one hot day he went out to lie down, and there was 5:30 in the hole. She was licking a little loose dirt off one paw. 5:30 looked at Tornado. Tornado looked at 5:30. 5:30 yawned. Tornado made a sound deep down in his throat that said, "Get out, please." Then he made another deeper sound that said, "Get out." 5:30 did not budge. I would have tried to pick her up, but the cat wouldn't let anybody touch her but Aloud. I had scratches on my arms to prove it. I started walking to the pond and called Tornado to follow me. He stayed where he was. I called him to the barn. He didn't budge. He stayed right there, looking at that cat in the hole, until, you guessed it, 5:30 came around. Then the cat got up, yawned, stretched, and went to the house. Tornado got in the hole, but not to lie down. He got in there to dig. He dug and he dug and he dug some more. Dirt flew everywhere. I knew what he was doing. He was trying to get the feel and the smell and the memory of that cat out of his special place. And I knew he couldn't. Even if he dug all the way to China, and he was already 12 inches on the way, when he got there, it would still be 5:30. "Stop that dog!" my mother cried from the kitchen window. "What's gotten into him?" 5:30, I called back. "I didn't ask the time," she called. "Get that dog out of there and fill that hole in." I did what she told me. I knew I was doing Tornado a favor, but he didn't see it that way. I pulled him out by the collar and locked him in the shed. He struggled a lot on the way there, and he barked the whole time I was shoveling the dirt back into the hole. He took the loss of his lying down hole hard. He never, to my knowledge, went into the pine trees again. Not even when we went in there to cut our Christmas tree. Or half a Christmas tree, I might say. As far as I know, Tornado never dug another hole. And every time 5:30 came around, he looked the other way. Chapter 6, Buddy. Pete opened the cellar doors. We peered around him, but my mother turned her head away, as if she didn't want to see. There was hail lying on the ground and broken limbs and leaves everywhere. "No real damage," Pete called to my mother in a cheerful voice. My mother folded her hands over her heart. "But I still don't like the looks of that sky," Pete said. "We better sit tight." He closed the doors and sat down. "Do you remember anything else about Tornado?" I prompted. "I remember one time. This was the saddest day of my life. I hate to tell it." "Please," I said. "Well, my daddy and I went to town in the truck. Tornado was in the back. We hadn't planned on taking him, but as soon as my daddy lowered the tailgate, he jumped in like he knew what he was doing, so he got to go. My daddy and I parked the truck on the side of the street and went into the hardware store. Tornado stayed behind the truck. We were gone about an hour. When we came back, my dad was loaded down with things, and I was carrying some paper bags filled with different sizes of nails. As we got close to the truck, I heard a voice saying, "It's Buddy! It's Buddy!" in an excited way. "Mama, Papa, it's Buddy! Oh, Buddy, Buddy, I never thought I'd see you again, Buddy!" There was a family standing around the back of our truck, and one of the girls had climbed in. She had thrown her arms around Tornado's neck. She was the one saying all the buddies. I stopped where I was. To save my life, I couldn't have taken another step. The bag of nails fell from my hands onto the sidewalk. It was as if they nailed me down. My daddy shifted the packages to rest a hand on my shoulder. He had warned me not to get too fond of the dog. "He's not yours yet," he had said over and over again. But both my parents had asked around, and nobody knew who he belonged to. Well, I had got fond of him. More than fond. I loved the dog. He was mine, and now some girl was calling him Buddy. My daddy held my shoulder tighter and said, "What's going on?" to a short man in suspenders. "Is this your truck?" the man asked. "It is." "This dog," the man said, "looks exactly like our dog, Buddy, that got blown away in the August tornado." "That's about when we found him," my daddy admitted. "He came to us. He was in our yard." I had stopped breathing. Everybody had, except the short man in the suspenders. "My girl carried on something awful when she found that dog was gone. She's always been real fond of him. Her grandfather gave him to her." "My boy's gotten fond of the dog, too," my daddy said. There was a long and a terrible silence. Then the man in the suspenders said, "Well, maybe I better to go get the police or something to settle this." "That won't be necessary," my daddy said. "You take the dog. He's rightfully yours." They let down the tailgate and took Tornado out the back of the truck. They loaded them into theirs. Tornado didn't look real happy, but I couldn't do a thing to stop what was happening. I was still nailed to the concrete. My daddy put his packages into the truck and came back and picked up my nails for me. "Let's go home, Petey," he said, using the same name he called me when I was little. Then he fell silent. Even my daddy couldn't find the good in this. The truck was pulling away from the curb. Tornado was in the back. I tried to get one last look at my dog, but my eyes were too full of tears. If my daddy had not helped me into the truck, I'd be standing there to this day. Chapter 7. The End of the Storm. Pete paused to wipe his eyes. That story always made him cry. It made me cry too. I wiped my eyes on my arm and then wiped my arm on my shirt. "Go on," I urged. He took a deep breath to help himself continue. That day, that miserable Saturday, was the saddest, longest day of my life. I couldn't eat. I did my chores without knowing I was doing them. I couldn't play cards after supper. I couldn't sleep. There was an emptiness about my room that matched the one inside me. The whole house seemed empty. The whole outdoors, the whole world. I didn't go around exactly boo-hooing, but my eyes kept filling up with tears. As soon as I'd wipe one flood away, another would come. I felt like it would be that way for the rest of my life. Sunday passed in the same lonely way, then Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, my mother got tired of what she called my moping, and she took me aside to talk some sense into me. "You knew you might lose the dog," she said. I nodded. "You knew he wasn't yours." I nodded. "You've got to stop moping around. You're going to make yourself sick." I nodded. I felt like I already was. "Listen, we can get another dog. There are other dogs in the county." I shook my head back and forth. "Not for me." On Friday, I was in the barn, and I heard a thumping sound. It was a sound that Tornado's tail used to make against the side of the barn door when he wanted to come inside. My eyes flooded. I couldn't help it. I knew there was no thumping. It was a sound that I wanted to hear so bad, my ears just heard it. There wasn't any thumping. There couldn't be. But the thumping went on, and it really was thumping. It got faster. I wiped my eyes and I looked. And Tornado was standing in the doorway. My Tornado was standing in the doorway. "Tornado's back," I yelled. "Tornado, good boy, good boy." I threw my arms around him. He curved his body the way he did when he was pleased about something, and his tail wagged in my face. My daddy came to the door. "Tornado's back," I told him. "So I see." "We don't have to take him back to those people, do we?" I tightened my hold on Tornado's neck. "Well, I don't rightly know how we could," my daddy said. "The man wasn't polite enough to give us his name." "That's true. And if they find us, well, the dog knows where we are. They can come over for a visit anytime he takes a mind to." "Yes, but I want him to stay." "I do too," my daddy said. "But if we have to share him with the other folks, we'll do it. Half a Tornado is better than none." And my father and I laughed. There was a long pause in the cellar. I asked, "Did he stay?" "I like a good ending." "For 7 happy years," Pete said. "And the people never came and got him?" "No. Of course, we didn't make the mistake of taking him to town again." Pete stood up, took off his hat, and put it back on his head. He stretched. "I'm going to go take another look outside." But before he could open the doors, there was a loud knock. "Hello in there, anybody home?" It was my father's voice. "Storm's over," he cried. We rushed out the cellar doors into the fresh air. My mother hugged my daddy. "Oh, Link, I was so worried." As soon as my grandmother got up the steps, she hugged him too. Then she gave him a stern look and said, "Lincoln, I hope you had the good sense to get in a ditch." "Look at me, Mama. Can't you tell? Don't anybody else hug me. I'm too muddy to hug." My little brother hung back to speak to Pete. Could Tornado really and truly do a card trick? He could. "And did you really and truly have a cat named 530? We did. My older brother said, "I wish you had told the story about Tornado and the rooster. That's my favorite." "Next time," Pete promised. Then he winked at me. "If there is one." That's the end. We'll do a different book next time, but thank you so much for listening, first graders. Take care.